This is Dr. Tawari.
And this is Dr. Kochak.
And you're listening to the
Best Podcast Ever.
Broadcasting from Columbus, Ohio, we'll be talking about plastic surgery procedures focusing on only the breast.
Ranging from breast reconstruction to breast enhancement and reduction, we'll cover everything you ever wanted to know about the breast. And welcome back to the Best Podcast Ever. This is Dr. Kochak.
Hey, Dr. Tawari.
And Melissa Patterson.
Yeah, we're here with Melissa Patterson. So tell us, Dr. Tawari, you've had the distinct pleasure of caring directly for her, but I think I've played a little bit of part. So tell us about Melissa.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Melissa join us today. She is well acquainted with some of our patients. She was a featured speaker on one of our Facebook Live events. And Melissa has a really interesting story and was actually one of the patients who we discussed a total en bloc capsulectomy and implant removal. So she played a big part in kind of introducing us into some of these issues for patients. So without further ado, Melissa Patterson, how are you doing?
Hey, real good. Thanks you guys for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you for joining us. First of all, how are you doing through all this coronavirus stuff?
Well, I was kind of already prepared to work at home. As you can see behind, I've got my high-tech screens going on here.
For people that are listening, she's got about 5 flat screen TVs or computer screens in the background there.
Yeah, you got to be able to watch TV while you're working, right? But I feel now kind of spoiled because all my coworkers are at home working on the laptop and the kitchen table, and I've got like this really nice setup. So I'm doing okay with that, and we're making the best of it.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Are you back to surgeries yet, or how are things going?
Yeah, we've started some outpatient surgeries. Actually, tomorrow morning is my first DIEP flap that Dr. Kale, our other partner, and I are doing. So that's going to be our first inpatient surgery. It's a patient with sort of some progressive symptoms. That's why we're doing it.
I've got 2 implant reconstructions tomorrow. I think it's official that we're almost all the way back. It's these DIEP flaps that are going to be a little bit touch and go. We're going to have a good, strong reason to do them moving forward. But I think it'll be soon before we're up and running full speed.
Good. Yeah, I think we got to give a shout out to all the ladies that are waiting for surgery. I know it's tough.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, just having to get on doctor's schedules anyway, and then to be rescheduled on top of that. I know it's been tough. I've been talking to a lot of people.
Yeah, we're really trying our hardest to juggle the schedule, but I'm going to be candid, like none of us has ever dealt with something like this before, obviously. So I don't know. It's going to be just trying to accommodate as much as we can. And we definitely appreciate people being patient.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If there's one thing that's safe to say is that we've gotten plenty of rest and we're ready to to go. So.
That's for sure.
So you can work 24/7 then, right?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to wake up at 5 o'clock anymore. We'll see. It's going to have to happen somehow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's going to be my earliest morning in a while, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, a little bit of an adjustment, right?
We used to have these scheduled phone calls with some of our offshore support people, and they would be around 6:30 in the morning. And both of us have gradually managed to miss that meeting so many times. The time is staggered. It's almost like a 12-hour difference for some of the people we work with. And so these poor guys are like, what time do you want to meet?
Yeah. How about 10? 10
Yeah, we would love that, but it's a compromise. But it's been funny, so.
Tell folks kind of how we first met. You had a really interesting story. You had experience with a surgeon in Michigan who was a really very excellent surgeon. Things didn't go kind of the way that you had wanted them to go. And I think it's useful for people to hear your story.
Sure. Well, thank you. So kind of the background, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2009. And thank God it was DCIS and stage 0, but I opted to do a double mastectomy. And the reason is that my family history is pretty rough. I was thinking about it recently. It's like a lumberjack kind of attacked my family tree with all the cancer that we have. It's bad. I have multiple women in my family that have had breast cancer. So when the doctor told me you have cancer, I wasn't shocked. I was kind of prepared for it. And my friend that was with me said, you look relieved. I guess it was kind of for me a matter of when versus if. So I knew then I had already kind of decided if it ever happens to me, I'm going to want to have a double mastectomy. I'm going to want to do implant reconstruction. My cousin had done that. It had worked pretty well for her. So that's what I ended up doing. and went through the expanders and then the exchange surgery.
Can I ask you, were those put under or over the top of the muscle? Do you remember?
Initially, it was under, and I had some symmetry issues after the permanent implants were put in. So I went to a different doctor, and he was able to correct the symmetry and actually adjusted a size. And so I ended up with one over the muscle and one under the muscle, I think. Dr. Tuari.
Okay, I have to ask. I mean, we have an internal control here because we read papers, but was one side more comfortable than the other? Less painful, more painful?
The right side that was under the muscle was more painful. That's where I had more issues.
As we'd expect. Okay. It seals the deal for me. That's interesting, though, with an internal control.
Yeah, and it's the side where I have shoulder issues. Dr. Tuari had to do some muscle repair, so I'm constantly stretching. So yeah, it was definitely more affected.
Yeah, I think for you, it was as much or maybe more a functional problem. Correct me if I'm mistaken. It was more kind of a range of motion functional issue leading to pain as much as it was anything else.
I think that was definitely what prompted me to start checking into what was going on, the range of motion with the shoulder, and I was having a lot of pain and burning in my chest, in my breast area. I talked to my doctor in Michigan about it, and it was attributed to capsular contracture, but something just wasn't setting right with me about that, and that's what prompted me to start Googling. We all like to do that, and that's where I found out about breast implant illness. And when I looked down the list of symptoms that a lot of women were having with that, I was checking a lot of boxes, and some of them were things that were just normal part of aging, but some of them were very familiar to me. Like I'd been diagnosed with food allergies. I was having trouble with my thyroid, with nodules, and the pain and burning. When I had originally been diagnosed with food allergies, I was having a lot of coughing and congestion, and that went away after I got off the foods that were affecting my body. But that was coming back again. So I was noticing, more chronic coughing, more chronic congestion. And those were all things that were kind of connected with the breast implant illness. So that's what prompted me to seek out you and figure out a solution for it.
How long did you have your implant reconstruction in there?
The cancer was in 2009. The final implant exchange was in 2010. So would have been 2 years ago that I had my removal of the implants. So just about 9 years?
I remember when we first met, I think I had actually even recommended you go back to your original plastic surgeon. He's a very well-respected plastic surgeon, and he had actually refused to take out the implants.
He gave me a really hard time about it.
Yeah, refuse may be a too strong a word, but...
Yeah, he said, I can do it, but you're not going to be happy with it.
What was the rationale that he told you?
He sounded like he just didn't think I was going to be happy, and that was his take on it. And I had originally approached him with a letter to kind of grease the skids for the appointment. I don't know why I had a feeling it wasn't going to be well received. He's a really big, prominent implant guy, and I was worried that it was going to be a little rough. So I'd written a very heartfelt letter about what was going on, what I wanted to do. I talked about wanting to go flat. And so when I got to the appointment, he had already researched other options for me that were maybe a little more cutting edge, like doing an expander and doing a lot of fat grafting. Well, that was not what I wanted to do. So when I kept pushing the idea of the flat, it was just kind of rejected. And even to the point where he turned to my husband and tried to kind of plea with him and take his side about wanting me to make a better choice.
Wow.
I left in tears, honestly, and went from sad to mad on the ride home from Michigan back to Ohio.
Yeah, and then I think you had come back to our office and you had kind of told me what had happened. And my thought process was, well, it's not my body, it's your body. And you're not coming to us for implants. You're not coming to us for deep flaps. You're not coming to us for fat grafting. You're just coming to us for a solution to your problem.
Right.
And in this case, the problem was the implants.
Right. And what you did do that I really appreciated, you did ultimately do what I wanted, but you were great about walking through the options, educating me on the options, but also encouraging me to choose the one that was best for me, not trying to tunnel me into any one choice.
Well, why do you think, because this is something that we hear a lot from patients, and I have my own ideas about it, but why do you think plastic surgeons are reluctant to give in to the flat closure?
I mean, I'll just be honest. I think some of it is money related, and some of it is the worry that if the woman changes her mind, it's going to be a lot harder to fix it.
I think those are both really good points. I think the other part for me, I've been thinking about this, is we're always trained to do things,
Mhm.
to do more technical surgeries. And there's a place for all of that. And in some place, the flat closure is,
More is better, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
more is better. Someplace the flat closure is like the opposite of what your brain is trained to do.
Hmm.
And I'll be honest, from a surgeon standpoint, the first time I think I ever did a flat closure, I found it very difficult, because not difficult from a technical standpoint, but difficult from like am I doing the right thing? Is this ethical?
I see that.
Is this the right thing that I should be doing? Is it standard practice? I had all these kind of emotions around it.
Yeah.
On that note, though, my feelings are that it's exactly what you're saying, but it's also because we think that it's not doing something. I think I have swallowed this entirely as the reality now, that a flat closure is a reconstruction. It is a flat closure reconstruction. And in plastic surgery, we're taught to think about reconstructive options in the form of a ladder.
Hmm.
And that ladder says that different procedures will go from least complicated to most complicated. And I think it's important to understand, like if we're talking about a wound on the leg, at the top of the ladder is a free flap, like a DIEP flap, something like that, that would transfer tissue from the body down to the leg to cover. But on the lower end of that ladder is the most simple thing, which would be just dressing, wound dressing. If that wound is capable of closing, the body has an intrinsic ability to close the wound. And that's the most basic form of reconstruction. It's an option. It's actually an option. And I think in breast reconstruction, we have failed to make one of the steps in that ladder actually a flat closure reconstruction. And I think if we all kind of just accept that this is not a lack of a reconstruction, it is the reconstructive option is actually, it's not no reconstruction, it's a flat closure reconstruction. To Dr. Tawari's point, I think we'll start to actually feel more like, oh, that's the reconstruction I'm doing. But you bring up a great point, and there has to be some economic ramifications of doing less. And that might be something certainly that comes into play.
I think that's a really good point. I think that some people, women and men, feel like a woman without breasts. And that could be coming into play as well. And maybe even Dr. Tawari, your thought of, am I doing the wrong thing here? Is this ethical? Am I taking away this woman's womanhood?
Yeah.
But I can tell you from my personal experience that when I had the implants, when I was out of clothes and really me being with myself, I didn't feel real. It didn't look real. It didn't feel real. I didn't feel real. And I didn't even realize the impact of that till after I had the implants removed. And even being flat, I felt more like myself and more like a woman than I did with the implants. And that surprised me.
So we've never really talked about that piece of it, because now we're over a year, I think, at least.
It's about 2 years this month.
Has it been 2 years already?
Yeah.
Um,
Can you believe that?
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right.
I know. I can't believe it's been that long. So 2 years later, what have you experienced in having gone flat? And also, what are their downsides? Downsides that I think are always worth fleshing out as well.
My big worry in the beginning was, what is it going to look like? Because I'd seen pictures. We're all friends with Kimberly Bowles, who had a very challenging situation, was left with a lot of extra skin against her will and against her choice. And that is tough because you've got to really make a lot of wardrobe adjustments. And I saw some pictures like that concerned me. So I'm really blessed that I got a nice, flat, great result with you, Dr. Tawari. I really feel blessed with that because that was a big concern. I think another thing was, what about clothes? Because I had a variety of things in my wardrobe, maybe some more form-fitting things, some dresses, sundresses, different things that with breasts, they work. Without, they're not going to work as well. But hey, it was an opportunity to get some new clothes. So definitely, I did a whole walkthrough of my closet with my husband. Like, okay, how about this? How about this? We had a fashion show, one day and cleaned out a lot of clothes and had to replace some things. So that was challenging. And I've got some friends that have gone flat that have like totally embraced it. They've got the vanity license plate. They've got t-shirts. They don't think anything of it. They just, let it all hang out to the world. And I guess I'm a little more conservative than that. I don't hide it. I'm not ashamed in any way, but I maybe do more scarves and layering and some creative things just so I don't feel awkward out there in the world.
If I'm hearing you correctly, then you don't use prosthesis then.
I have them. I have some well-meaning friends who gave me some knitted knockers, they're called, and I have some forms that I ordered, but I've never used them.
What about like any range of motion issues at your shoulder? Because sometimes we worry about if the flat closure is too tight, that people may have range of motion issues as they are going to go reach for something up on a shelf or something like that.
I went through a little bit of physical therapy after the surgery, and I think that helped. Just lots of stretching. I just always need to make sure I stretch. And, I work on a computer, so that doesn't help any. But I don't think the flat closure has affected it at all. I think it's just part of the rehab from surgery and then working on that one muscle that had the under the muscle implant. It's always a little touchy.
What I learned most from you, I remember our encounter really well, was, here's a very kind of thoughtful, introspective person who's really kind of in touch with what she wants and her body. It became very clear to me like that this was the right answer for you. And how do we get to the right answer for you? I still had those feelings when I did your operation. Am I doing the right thing? Is this really what she's going to want? But I just had to trust that, our communication was good. I trusted that you knew what you wanted.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing about breast reconstruction is, if I can weigh in, is that you could always go get a reconstruction still. It's not an irreversible outcome, and reconstruction can be redone. It can be done anytime. There are almost always options. Very, very rarely have all the bridges been burned and no options left. So it is nice to know, I think, as a patient who might be thinking about flat closure, to think, well, I think this is the right decision. I'm 99% sure, but there's got to be some reassurance knowing that 3 years later, if this changed, you might say, well, I'd like to go back to a reconstruction. And guess what? You can.
Sure. That's really good. And that's an excellent point. I think we all have in our heads, we want this once and done thing. And when you're dealing with breast surgery, that's not the case. And that's what I appreciated too. It reminds me of when Dr. Tuari told me, it might take another surgery. Hope we can get it done right the first time, but it could take prepared for that just in case. And, fortunately I don't need to, but I think it was in your guys' second podcast, you talked about the delayed immediate reconstruction to give some time. Someone's going through cancer and needing to decide about reconstruction. That's an awful lot to think about all at once.
Yeah.
And I think you're proposing that to people is a great idea. Like slow it down. You only need to deal with one thing at a time, and we can get you through this.
I tell all of the people that were looking to go down that delayed immediate, I tell them there are 3 options. You can switch your tissue expanders out for an implant, you can switch them out for tissue, or you can switch them out for a flat closure. I think it's very important to understand that that is still a very viable option at that time.
That's a great approach, and I've never heard of that before, and it's really good.
Did you ever think you'd be an advocate for something like flat closure?
I certainly didn't.
Give us some insight. What is the flat community like?
It's a pretty neat group of ladies, pretty brave. Some real interesting pictures out on the websites too. We got some great ladies out there.
And some interesting tattoos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like the full chest tattoos. But it's a really supportive group.
For the record, we don't do those. We don't do them in surgery. We outsource those. So
yeah, that's probably good. But yeah, it's a really good group of supportive women. I'm in a couple of different groups, and then I'm also in the breast implant illness group as well.
It's been a real education, I think, interacting with these patients, because it brings a lot of what you do, and plastic surgery is no different than anything else. You have your sort of set patterns. And I think flat closure community has forced us to kind of reevaluate some of our own set patterns and kind of rethink what we've been learning and what we've been teaching. We taught at OSU for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a new way to think about it.
It is definitely changing the dogma. It's done a lot. And honestly, in our practice, you're one of the people that we have to thank for being able to take the blinders off and actually kind of see the different angles. We owe you a lot. That's why we're so excited to be so committed to our practice. You've come out for different patient engagement and stuff. The people listening have to understand. I think the energy you've put in through our practice alone, I can imagine you do it in so many other places, is amazing, actually.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be part of your group, really. You guys are doing an awesome job. And like you said, not everybody's really offering the flat closure, and you're kind of changing the terrain of that as well.
Was Melissa your first patient for the flat closure, Dr. Tuari, or was she early on?
very early on.
I remember you telling me about her case, and I was thinking, you're going to do what?
Yeah, for true en bloc flat closure.
Yeah, but like removal of an implant reconstruction. And we've had plenty of people come through with inadequate flat closures, like we're closed with extra skin, like sort of the Miss Bowles type of situation that you described. But yours was definitely the first where you said to me, I'm going to take implants out and I'm going to close or flat. And I was like,
what?
The other part of it which you definitely were the first, you had quite a good implant reconstruction.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, whoever did this did a really good job.
Yeah. And then I told you who it was, and you were like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Your insights are always so important. Is there any place where people can find you or find the work that you're doing with some of the flat closure groups?
Yeah, I think we could maybe put some information in the comments if I forward that to you, but I can be found on Facebook, Melissa Patterson, and we'll put that in the comments. Also, I want to put in a little plug for a ministry that I'm a part of that you guys are aware of. We deliver drain tube holder bags to your office, and we also deliver them to a number of hospitals throughout Michigan and Ohio. We have a team of ladies that sew these bags that are made of cloth with ribbons to tie around your neck, and they'll hold the drain tubes when you're in the shower, or other ladies use them really 24/7 to hold the drain tubes. We had a team of 4 people doing this for years and years. And once I got involved with the breast implant illness, we started offering the bags to be mailed individually to people. And that has just taken off. And those are the women that I'm talking to really on a daily basis. And then we've also opened it up to the flat groups, the Flat and Fabulous and Flatties Unite, and a number of other groups that I'll make sure that were mentioned in the comments. But we're probably sending out maybe 125 bags a month.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, all over the world.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Contacts from everywhere around the world, and it's exciting.
Well, I'm very thankful that we got a chance to catch up with you again, and I hope you stay very closely connected with us. Dr. Troy gets all the fun because, he got to work on you, but it's not fair. I demand more time with you. So if we can do it through these outlets, I learn something every time. So it's been great.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Anytime I'm available. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa.
Take care.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you found this episode helpful.
Want more info? Connect with us at mwbreast.com.
And go behind the scenes with us on Instagram at mwbreast. Thanks for tuning in.
And join us next week.